ladies and gentlemen, Cone Dodger here. This is a Patreon update video, and mostly a Patreon thanks video. Patreon, if you don't know, is a crowdfunding service that allows creators of either content or artwork or basically anything. If you're a creator of anything, you can use Patreon as a service of raising money to keep doing that or to do that. Patreon has been huge to the ability for me to continue doing what I do and to ever have been able to chase this dream at all. If it wasn't for the support over the years on Patreon, I never would have been able to keep doing what I do to any scale near what I do now. I'm constantly looking to do more and be better and make better content and try to break through the system, if you will. However, the fact of the matter is, the kind of content that I create and the kind of personality that I am, it's tough out there. There's not a lot of room in the inn for a person like me to make it on their own and to just survive in either the YouTube or Twitch or video or streaming arenas, if you will. Patreon has been so very important to me, largely because it allows me to make the content that I'm most passionate about. If I was more into chasing trends and trying to game the system and doing all the tricks and kind of dirty tactics, I probably could do a lot better in the industry I'm in. Patreon and your support and everybody's support allows me to do things the way that I'm most passionate about and create the content that I want to create. And I think for that, we get a smaller audience for sure, but for that smaller audience, we get content. I get to make content that it's true to me, and it's stuff that I'm truly inspired and desire to make. And that's an opportunity that I am very grateful for. I don't feel the pressure or need to maybe step out into things that I'm not as interested in to try and chase the ad revenue and things. In the almost 5 years that I've been making videos on YouTube, I never have really ever hunted for the latest and the greatest, the trendy stuff or stuff like that. I've always tried to do stuff that I'm either inspired to do or is, I'm always trying to be innovative with the stuff that I do, but frankly, that's not always the case. Sometimes I really just want to do a Minecraft series, and anymore, you can't just go out and make a Minecraft series and look for success. That's not the way that things work. But being able to live a sustainable life and do the things that I love and want to do is truly great, and I'm very, very happy that I have that opportunity. So thank you to everybody that's supported on Patreon over the years. And maybe you haven't supported on Patreon. That's totally okay too. If you supported me through watching my videos or just joining the community and you're just being part of the group, that's hugely supportive to me also. I can't believe, looking back at it now, if you had told me that in 5 years I would have 8,000, 9,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that I would have been living a life dedicated to doing this content, I would have told you were crazy. That just didn't seem like it was ever possible. But it's through a very tight-knit and I think pointed community. The community that surrounds my content is very supportive of the content I create, versus, the mega channels, the 100,000, 200,000, million subscriber channels, a lot of the times are formed out of, the more tricksy kind of stuff, or maybe just, through natural progression, but tastes change and things like that. And I feel like our small, tight-knit community has the impact of those large, million subscriber communities, and that's really incredible to me. It's very, very inspiring, and that's what makes me so motivated. I'm so driven still to make what I do a thing that is what I can define as the thing I make a living off of. It's hard for me because, making videos and making content is a passion of mine. It's something that I truly love doing. To try to also balance that with calling it something that is a job or is my income is difficult. It's hard to balance the two. It's hard to feel comfortable with that. But I guess the fact that I get to be as kind of true to myself and as true to my roots, if you will, really aids with feeling okay about it. So really, this is just a video to say thank you to everybody. But also, I do kind of want to go over the Patreon stuff just a little bit in case we happen to have some newer viewers or whatnot that maybe aren't as familiar with it. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do a Patreon, like campaign or fundraiser or whatever. And the way that I've typically done mine is pretty simply. I don't make it very complicated. You could, make a bunch of tiers and have material goods tied to them. You could have like a layer with, get a shirt or other, goods and material things. I've decided to not go that way because I run on a pretty thin existence. I basically try to, any funding that I get is one for one going back into making either, life sustainable for me. I live a pretty thin existence, but I just kind of do the best I can to live comfortable enough while putting most of my effort and emphasis into doing better and being better at what I do. So with that, I try not to use the money that you are, investing in the channel through Patreon. I don't want to put all of that money into basically buying, goods or, shirts or whatever, all that kind of stuff. It's cool and it's nice. I've personally, backed people that, have given actual items of like trinkets and stuff like that. But I feel like for where we are and the size of channel that it is and the size of community we have, it's better, and I think probably better for you, that we use the funding that we can raise to try and make better content, basically. And that's essentially what I've always done, and that's why I have things set up the way they are. And over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, whatever the Patreon has been up for, I think that's generally been well received. It's just, I don't know, it feels a little bit more grassrootsy of an effort for sure, but it makes me feel good, and like I said, for the most part, I don't think I've ever had any negative comments about doing it that way. But there are different tiers, and basically there's different perks. To me, the biggest perk is the Discord community access, and that's open to everybody. Like, anybody that supports on Patreon $1 or $1 million is going to get Discord access. And the Discord group is something that kind of blindsided me. I didn't realize when starting that what a thing it would be, because Discord has become kind of the hub and the heart of the community. I am on there constantly. I just love interacting with everybody, whether it's talking about what's going on in videos or in real life or any random rabble that could be happening in the world. That's where that happens, and I love the fact that we have an open community, and I think people have gotten comfortable enough with the fact that I want to be on the same level as everybody. I don't want to be a content creator that's like overseeing everybody and is above everybody. I want to be part of the community that surrounds me. That's the way I want to do things. So, and that's kind of the same mentality of, the fact that I read every comment, I like to interact with Twitch chats and everything like that. It's just the way that I do things. So, to me, whether it's your thing or not, maybe it's not, and that's totally cool too. The Discord access is the greatest perk of the Patreon fundraiser. The only other things that we have are kind of, just very small tokens of appreciation. So the next one up would be like a sponsorship, basically, where you'll get kind of a mention or notice somewhere in one of the series that I'm doing. Usually that typically tended to be on a car in iRacing or Assetto. Currently, at the very current moment, I don't have one of those series going. So instead, I'm going to have a Patreon thanks like showroom or walkway or something like that, where you'll get a sign with the name on it on the Minecraft server, because I'm just absolutely loving doing the Minecraft server content at the moment. So that's the thing that I think is probably the most fitting. And as small as the audience is for the Minecraft videos, I feel like the people that watch those videos are likely the people that are really supporting the channel. So I feel like that's a good place for it to be anyway. Up from there, I do postcards as well. I say that I do them every 3 months. Sometimes those are hit or miss. Sometimes you might get one month, and then in 2 months, I'm currently sending out a new batch. So we're getting another set of patron postcards, and what I try to do those is something unique that's going on, or something unique from either my content or the community. So somewhere I've been or somewhere I've gone thanks to the group or thanks to the community and stuff like that. So kind of a little like greetings from this place, where usually I will have met up with people of the community anyway. So that's what I try to do with those, and that's just a small thing. And I really love postcards. I wish postcards were still a more common thing. When I am traveling, I'm always looking for postcards, but people just don't seem to really do them anymore. And it's sad, because I do like them. I looked while I was out in Seattle recently, and I guess I just didn't go to the right places, because I never found good postcards. The only thing north of that would be a actual real life sponsorship. So when I first started Patreon, most of my goals surrounded getting my project car up and running and getting that as a usable product, and having the sponsorships on that was a large part of my Patreon campaign. I still have that, and I still really like that, but my priorities have indeed shifted some, and I'm sure people can realize that. And in that era, I was working, and actually I was working and going to school for part of that, so really what I did on YouTube was a very small percentage of my life. Well, that pie has changed. Now making content or creating stuff is my main focus, and through that I've kind of had to shift where the funds that I raise through ad revenue or through Patreon or Twitch or whatever, more of that now has to go to living sustainably, having a roof over my head and feeding myself tendies usually. So that kind of unfortunately has made a situation where I don't put as much of like the Patreon funding or stuff like that into Red or into a project car. Unfortunately and fortunately, I mean, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to do, content on a full-time basis now. But I do desperately miss working on Red and getting that project going. The top tier is to get your name or logo featured on that car. I'm going to keep that around because that car is never going away unless a meteor hits it or something like that. That car and that project is not something that's just going to disappear. It's still something extremely important to me, and the thing that I want to do the most, the thing that's most important to me in the future, like in future content and future growth, is to do more in real life car content. That's the thing I would say I'm most passionate about, but currently not in a position to be able to do. So I keep that one around because the car will be around, and I'm super thankful to everybody that's ever supported at that level, because that just, it's extreme. You know, it blows my mind how supportive those people are, so I want to make sure that they're always, you know, thanked and remembered for that support. So anybody that's ever supported that level and wants to be featured on the car will be featured on the car. And hopefully in the future, and hopefully the not too distant future, we can get that car going and living and breathing again, and get it out there being used. It's not always easy to know where life is going to go. I didn't know 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even just over a year ago, that I would be in a position where I was, you know, quitting my retail slumlord job and doing this kind of stuff full time. So priorities change, and life changes. Life finds a way. So I can't always say, you know, exactly the direction we're going to be headed, or the direction I'm going to be headed. My current objective and goals are to get myself in a situation where I can live on my own and have a space that is my own space to create whenever I want and as comfortably as possible. So throughout all of the time that I've been you know, making videos or streaming or anything like that, I've always had roommates, or most of the time just like living in a bedroom, or in some eras an attic. You know, a very thin existence, like I said, but I'm kind of happy that way. You know, I like to live a pretty minimalist kind of life. But I would love to be able to do that kind of on my own. After over a decade of having roommates and never just having a place of my own, that's a main focus for me right now. And I think it's a huge check mark for me on making it, basically. I feel like if I can support myself and, you know, live a normal human being's life doing what I'm doing, then no matter what the size of the channel, no matter if I never get a YouTube play button or a Twitch partnership or whatever, I've done what I set out to do for a living. So that's a current objective for me. I'm very thankful for the situation that I'm in right now. I couldn't have made the plunge if it weren't for, you know, the support of friends to give me, you know, a place to live, or, you know, a place to do what I do, you know, bedrooms to rent and stuff like that. That's been very critical to being able to get to this point. But now it's gotten to the point where I really feel like I need to push for independence, basically. At 31 and reaching 32, I really am, in some ways, feeling like kind of running out of time there. If I'm going to ever lead a real adult life, I gotta make some changes soon. I gotta get things worked out pretty soon, or it's just gonna be, you know, so late that I don't know what the next thing would be. I don't know that there would be, you know, an ideal next thing. So that's kind of where we stand. This was long and rambly, but hey, that's what I do. Thank you all once again for all of your support over the years and your continued support. And if you can't support on Patreon, if you also are living a thin existence but you enjoy the content, I appreciate you every bit as much. So thank you to everybody, and especially if you made it to this far into a video like this. You're the best.